What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Cervantes Podcast. Joining me today to discuss recently winning the Miss Long Island pageant, running in the New York City Marathon, and how her family has impacted her and her resilience is Miss Long Island Team USA 2023, weather anchor for Hofstra Today, proud member of the Beta Zeta chapter of Alpha Phi sorority, and journalism major at Hofstra University, Natalia Suaza. How are you doing today, Natalia?
I'm really good. How are you? Really
I'm
excited to be
good. Thank you
here.
for being here. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Good. You were recently crowned Miss Long Island Team USA for 2023. Congratulations. What did that
Thank you.
moment mean to you?
It meant everything to me. I really went into the competition just doing something out of my comfort zone. So even if I didn't win, I would have been very happy with the outcome that I was able to do something I've never done before. Um, I think being crowned, it still hasn't set in. I like look at the pictures and you could see like the shock on my face. So I think it's one of those surreal moments that just a once in a lifetime moment that I can't even explain. It's amazing.
That's so awesome. And then literally 2 weeks prior, you ran in the marathon.
Yeah.
That's
So November
insane.
was a crazy month for me, but it was very rewarding. It was a lot, but November could never be matched ever. So
Right,
yeah.
because you're a full-time student. Are you played sports in like high school and like middle school? Are you playing sports at Hofstra right now?
I am not playing sports at Hofstra right now, but I just ran 8 miles right before this. So I definitely run between classes, but I'm not like playing anything at Hofstra, but I definitely still do run.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank
That's a
you.
good like workout for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
So beauty queens usually use beauty pageants as a platform to further a cause. You chose to center cancer awareness since you sadly lost your dad to cancer at only 9 years old. According to the Art and Beauty magazine December 2022 issue, you share your dad's spirit in exploring new things and that you have found resilience in taking action to overcome fear. You also said that you try to live every day with purpose by remembering that tomorrow is not promised. My parents always told me that too, so I like that. Do you feel like you're honoring your dad by educating people with this important health crisis? And where do you get your resilience from?
So I definitely think I do. So cancer is the second most leading cause of death in the United States. So many people are very familiar with it, unfortunately. But with my platform, how it's different from other platforms is it not only focuses on the person diagnosed with cancer, but the families impacted as well. So I feel like it's not really talked about enough how much financially and mentally it takes a toll on families. So for me, I wanted to really focus on not only the person diagnosed, but the families and what we can do to support them. Because when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, I went to the Center for Hope at Northwell Health, and that was a support group with other kids that lost their parents or other loved ones. And that really helped me to stay resilient. And I get my resilience from my mom because without her, I probably wouldn't be doing any of this. She really showed me what it truly was to be strong and that death or losing a loved one or just anything happening in your life doesn't define you, but it should be the force that um, gives you drive. So without her, I probably wouldn't be able to do all of this. And she really showed me what it means to show up every day.
I love that. And like being able to pick yourself up back again and keep moving forward, even though you had this like tremendous loss, like there's still it doesn't get easier, people say, but like you get stronger.
Definitely.
Society can be very hard on women when it comes to beauty standards and pretty privilege. A music video that comes to mind right away is Beyonce's Pretty Hurts from 2013. According to an Allure article by Kristen Chilstrom titled Beyonce Pulls Back the Curtain with Pretty Hurts, the author points out that the 6 minute video takes viewers behind the scenes of a beauty contest where we see pill popping, disordered eating, and excessive exercise. Perfection is a disease of a nation, she sings. Later on in the article, the author says that Beyonce is not saying it's impossible to be beautiful and happy at the same time. She's saying that the two aren't necessarily dependent on each other. How did you stay confident within yourself while running for the pageant? And what advice would you give to young women and girls who are hard on themselves when they're in these competitions or who want to look like their favorite TikTok creator or Instagram model?
So I actually haven't been always very confident. I used to be a very insecure girl and want to change myself. So it definitely was a long journey to get to the place I am at today. I was very hard on myself and I was my biggest critic. And I think when I truly understood that at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone better than you. There's always like someone better at something you do, which is fine. That's life. Because without that, I couldn't have a role model, like couldn't have role models. So I think when I told myself that instead of being my biggest critic and my biggest hater, that I should be my biggest fan, because at the end of the day, all you have is yourself, and that
Yes.
someone's success doesn't define yours. Timing is always key. And I like to remind myself that social media is fake. We see that every single day. So I don't let those things get to me. Someone's beauty does not define your worth. So it definitely something I recommend that I had to do to remind myself that every day is I would write in my mirror, you are beautiful, you are resilient. As silly as it sounds, it helps because when you're reading those things and when you're saying those things to yourself, you're actually starting to believe them. Um, so I think that's really good. And that when you start doing things for yourself instead of for other people, that's when I think you strive for greatness, because I go into things not trying to beat out other people or not for a competition, but just because I want to do it for myself. And I'm not even proving anything for anybody. So when I do things for intent to win, obviously it's nice to win, like the pageant, but just going out of my comfort zone and pushing myself past expectations is already enough. So I think that's really what helped me to stay confident throughout the whole process.
That's an amazing answer. I love that. That's so good because it's hard, like for like young people growing up, like Gen Z or even younger than Gen Z. They grew up on social media, so that's all they know. And then they see their favorite celebrity, TikTok creator, Instagram model, whoever. It's like, oh, like her skin or his skin is so perfect, and like he works out and she looks great, and they look like they have a great life. But it's like we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Like
Exactly.
people may look at you like, oh my God, she's so pretty, but you have things that we all have things that we're working on, and I
Definitely.
think it's important, especially for young people to see that, because I think our parents, they had other things that I think that kind of like knocked their confidence, but they didn't have social media where
Exactly.
things are like in their face constantly. Whereas us, we're looking at people all around the world. Oh, I want to look like that. I want to look like that. But you have to focus on like, okay, what's really important. Everyone has their own struggles and mental health journeys, and don't be so hard on yourself because we're all a work in progress. So I think
We're
I like
human at the
that.
end of the day. Yep.
I like that. Yeah, and just because like relationship goals, and then look, your favorite couple breaks up.
Exactly.
Again,
Exactly.
you don't you don't know,
Yeah,
was it
exactly.
really goals? So that's such a good answer. And I think going back to pageants, I think sometimes I don't have any friends that were in pageants, but from what we see in the media and like movies and stuff, it can kind of like pick at people's self-esteem. So it's
Mhm.
good that you have people like your mom and hopefully like good friends that, hey, Natalia, like, if you don't win, it's okay. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean that you're
definitely.
ugly or like dumb just because you
No.
didn't like win or
My
place.
mom actually texted me like during it, and she was like, no matter the outcome, I'm already proud of you. And something I take away from the Miss Universe now is that um, she was basically saying that no, like if you don't do it then when now. So you know what I mean. So it's just there's always an opportunity and you should take it, and regardless of the outcome you should push yourself out of your comfort zone and really go for it. And I think that just doing that and showing up to life is enough. So
Right. Take risks. You don't be afraid to take a risk. Who wanted you? So you wanted to do the pageant initially. How did you hear about it? And were you always interested in doing a pageant growing up?
so I actually am not really this was my first pageant, so I
Okay.
never thought that I ever wanted to do a pageant. I think because with the stereotype of how it can be like toxic and like everybody has their own opinions on pageants, which I 100% understand. Um, and that wasn't my experience at all. I think if anything, I took this opportunity because for pageants, for me personally, I didn't take it as like a competition. I thought this was a way to study myself and see my strengths and take that onto that stage. So I thought it was a really great opportunity to really dive into self-love and have that confidence to be able to walk across stage. So it definitely takes a certain type of person to be able to want to do a pageant. And I think that's very brave of them that they're able to get up on stage and talk about what they're very passionate about. Um, but this was my first pageant, obviously. So I'm competing in my next pageant in August as Miss New York Teen. So I'm really
Nice.
excited.
Okay.
Yeah, really excited to take this opportunity to be able to find more strengths in myself and do hopefully even better than I did the last one.
That's awesome. So this one that you won was like regional, and then the next one will be like
Yeah, like
statewide.
state. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Also, your father introduced you to running, which led you to run in the annual New York City Marathon, which is about 26 miles in length, that courses through the five boroughs of New York City. According to the Long Island Herald, your mom said crossing that finish line alongside thousands of others gave her a much needed confidence boost when all eyes were on her crossing the pageant stage. What was that experience like for you? And did playing soccer when you were younger help with your preparation?
So that experience, once again, like the pageant was once in a lifetime. I'm the biggest advocate of everybody should run a marathon at least once in their life. Just because
Okay.
such an amazing experience. And I think that a lot of times when I was training for it, I had to question, like, am I good enough for this? Like, I can't do this. Like, I think I should just quit. I think it really gets to you. Because it builds up physically and mentally, and you're basically draining yourself out. I trained for 16 weeks prior, and without my mom I probably couldn't do it, because I was basically training by myself, and my mom would ride her bike while I was running to stay motivated. So she, without her, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. And I believe that sports, being in sports my entire life, always helped me, because my mom always said, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go to, far, go together. And I think I really remembered that, because I need that support. I need that guidance. Like, I can't just run a marathon and do it by myself without any guidance. So I think having that in sports really helped me with running. So it was a very fast adjustment. I've never done anything like this before. And my mom ran the New York City Marathon in 2016. So I ran my first half marathon when I was 13 years old. And I promised myself, when I'm 18, I'm going to run the New York City Marathon. So I think also living up to my younger self's dreams, I had to do it. But without a support system, I think that I wouldn't be where I was to be where I am today. So
Right. Like you, it's important to have a community that like lifts you up, that supports you, that loves you unconditionally, so that you can achieve awesome things like you've done in the past year. That's amazing. And I think I didn't know that it was that long, 26 miles.
yeah,
That's
I
good. I didn't
actually
know.
ended up running 27, because you like do a little bit more than you're supposed to. So it's
Okay. Okay.
yeah, it's wild.
That's insane. That's insane. And honestly, it's just an accomplishment to finish, like to just
Oh,
finish the
100.
race. I wouldn't even care about
Yeah,
first
I'm
place, second, third. So that's really awesome. Do you see yourself doing it again with maybe friends this time or family this
oh
time?
yeah, I'm doing the New York City half marathon in like 18 days. And then I'm running the Brooklyn half marathon, and I'm planning on doing the New York City marathon again this year. I tell myself I want to do it every single year until I can't walk. I can live up to that. But it's a dream, because it's just such an amazing experience. You feel like a celebrity, and you feel famous when the whole entire city is cheering you on.
And
I
you're
want
on TV, right? Like it's broadcast.
on TV. Like, I've seen a billion like TikToks and social media videos of people blowing up all over, just because it's so amazing how these people you don't know are cheering for you, and they want to see you succeed. I think it's great that as a community we can all come together in like one event. It's amazing.
I love that. The one time New Yorkers are like nice.
That's it. After that, that's done.
That's it. Did you make any friends when you did the marathon?
I did. So right before I was obviously running by myself, so I was super super nervous right before I was starting. And one girl was like, "Hey, do you want to be my selfie?" So she ended up finding me on Instagram right after, and she was like, "I'm so proud of you, congratulations," and stuff like that. So I think that was a really beautiful moment, because it's random strangers and they want to see you succeed. And now she follows me, and she's one of my friends on Instagram, and she wasn't even my age. I was one of the youngest people doing it. She was a lot older than me, and she just reached out to me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's what it's about. Because then maybe next time you can build even more of like a friend group for your
Yeah.
next marathon. And that's a really cool challenge to want to do it every year.
Mm.
For people who don't like to run, what would you say? Like, how could they ease into incorporating running as their sense of cardio when they do work out?
So for me, I like to say that it doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. I think that's so important, because I feel like a lot of times I'm very hard on myself at time, but I have to understand, like, sometimes my body isn't just feeling it that day. Like, I'm human. Like, I'm not a professional at this. I do it for fun. I do it for myself. So I think that just having like mini goals, and what I did for the marathon was I set myself like 2 miles, and then I ended up going to 20 miles. So working up slowly, and don't compare your progress to everybody else's. Everybody else has different bodies. Some people just have better stamina than others. So I think as long as you take your time and don't stop, that's all that matters. For the New York City Marathon, I had a goal I wanted to finish. I wasn't able to accomplish that, but I still finished, which was amazing. And I didn't stop running the entire time, which I was very proud of myself. I ran the whole thing through. Um, so I think
That's
that
impressive.
thank you. I was very upset that I didn't get my goal time, but I was like, no, I stuck to my word. I went as slow as if I had to go slow, I went slow, but I didn't stop. And I think even you could apply that to life. It doesn't matter how slow you go, or the progress, how slowly the progress you make, as long as you don't stop and you keep going and showing up every day.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what, when whether you're studying for a exam or you're working out or literally anything, just continue to make progress, get up every single day and keep moving forward. And if you believe in God, prayer helps. And if you're going through tough times, or even if you're not going through tough times, therapy is also amazing too. So that's important. And also too, I was on the rowing team, and so half of us would like run outside and half of us would do
Oh,
the treadmill. I prefer the treadmill only because I can see my progress. I feel like I'm
mm,
doing something. So that's also a point too. Like if you don't, for people listening, if you don't want to run outside, you could always do a treadmill.
no,
I
I
feel like
love
that
the
works.
treadmill. I go on the treadmill half the time. I just like it because I'm able to pace myself. So I'm a very big treadmill person, especially in New York weather right now. I'm like most of the time on the treadmill. So
Right.
100%, even if you have to walk little, walk, run, anything, any improvement is improvement at the end of the day.
Especially in our communities, because I think we're prone, like Black and Latinos, we're prone to like heart disease, high blood pressure, so many different things. I think probably because of the food that we eat, arroz con
Yeah,
pollo, fried chicken, jerk
yeah,
chicken, pastelito. So we are eating all that. So let's take care of ourselves, drink water and
definitely.
work out.
I think it's not even only to take care of ourselves like physically, but it's like a mental thing too. I have really bad anxiety, so sometimes if I need to let that out, I go run. So I think it's a very good coping exercise as well mentally, and then also physically it's really good for you.
Right. You probably feel better. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, I just ran. Let me I have more energy to study
yeah,
or go to
definitely.
class for how many hours of the day.
Yeah.
Going back to your dad, what advice would you give to people struggling with the loss of a loved one and grieving?
So this year is going to mark the 10th year without my dad, and I like to say that grief doesn't always go away. It's always still going to be there, but you learn how to grow. So if some days you're feeling more down, or if you need to let out a cry, that's totally normal. And I think some people think that it's not making progress because in grief it's not going to fully go away ever, but you learn how to grow from it. And for me personally, it gives me a drive because my dad wanted to see me live out my dreams, and I'm doing just so. So I think following my dreams and not holding back is just enough from honoring his memory. And I know I'm able to talk very openly about my dad because my dad was that type of person where you want to talk about him, you want to talk about how full he was of life. So I think that being able to talk about them is a beautiful thing to me, and that it's okay if we all have bad days because we're all human. We have to understand that they still want to see you do amazing things, and not to let that one death of a loved one or anybody close to you define your worth in any way.
That's so important. And again, going back to our community, I feel like sometimes when tragic things happen, we kind of sweep it under the rug and don't talk
Yeah,
about it. And I think that's so important that you are very vocal. And even though something very sad happened, you can still like, what's the word? Like you can still, I keep saying move forward, but there's strength. There's
yeah,
you look back on the good times, and it's important to vocalize it because it's sometimes if you internalize it, it can lead to like depression and like you know it can make the situation worse. So I think that's really important. Where are you from?
I'm from Dominican Republic, and I'm from Colombia as well.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, definitely. I think yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm half Puerto Rican and Jamaican, and I know sometimes like when something not so nice
Definitely
happens, it's like
soup
okay,
under
let's
the
not talk
rug,
about
and
it.
that's a like I feel like uh Dominican. I understand what you're saying, and I feel like the reason why I'm like that today is because of my mom again. My mom always talked about my dad openly. She always, like, we would see signs and she'd be like, "Oh, it's from your dad." So my mom always made it like that since I was 9 years old, to kind of look at it as like it's your dad sending you signs. My mom always said your dad physically can't be here with you still, but he's still here with you in spirit. So I always remembered that, and I find it a very beautiful thing that I'm able to shine light on such a subject and just remind people that every day is not promised, and that we should live life, and I want everybody should live life more like my dad. So I
I
think
love
that's
that. I love that. He would be very proud of you, I'm sure.
thank you.
You're currently a freshman at Hofstra majoring in journalism. What are some of your career goals?
So my career goals right now are to be able hopefully to be a successful journalist with my own show one day. um
Wow,
yeah,
okay, that's awesome.
it's
Latina
definitely
Oprah.
yeah, yeah, the TV child of Oprah, like
Yes.
Ellen. I think it's definitely a big goal, and I have to work my way up. So I love reporting. That's also why I do Hofstra Today. So, but that's like the ultimate goal when I'm older, I think, to be able to talk about these things that I love, just like interviews, and be able to shine light on certain subjects that some people might not feel comfortable talking about, and let people know that they're not alone in life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And are you currently looking for internships, or are you gonna wait till like later on?
I was probably looking at it for the summer, honestly. I have like a few projects I was going to be working on, so I'm definitely looking for more internships to start. As a freshman, you kind of just like ease your way into it. So it's kind of easing my way the first semester. Now I'm kind of getting the hang of things. So hopefully I look at it soon.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And because you're doing all these different things, how do you incorporate like work-life balance? And how do you have time? Or like how do you have such good time management?
Um, Time management, I sometimes have to struggle first and then be able to kind of like set myself up with a plan. So I have certain classes and certain days that are longer, and then ones where I only have one class, so I'm able to manage my time better and do certain things. So if I have to go for a run, I'll go in the morning and then leave X amount of time for work. And if I have an event, I have it at night. So it can be very overwhelming at times. Like the last couple of months have been super, super busy, but regardless of everything, if I need to take time for myself, I always do that, because um, being able to take time for yourself is a priority on top of everything. So, but I think so far I've been pretty good with time management. It's been crazy because this is what I've always wanted. It's finally coming, and I'm like, yeah, I'll keep going. But I have to understand that sometimes it's like you could take a step back and everything will still be there. So I think prioritizing yourself is number one, and then everything else comes number two.
Yeah, self-care is so important. And having a routine for sure. And for me, I think when I was in school, I graduated last May. And I feel like when I was in school, I had like a better routine. Like, okay, I'm gonna have class this time, I'm gonna eat
Yeah,
this time. And then when I graduated, I was like, oh, like I'm going to sleep whenever, and like I'm
yeah,
hanging out with my
yeah.
friends whenever. So I had to like relearn that routine. But I think routine for sure, time management, focusing on you, self-care, and yeah, blocking out time for trying to prioritize that time management so that you have time to put in your all into everything. And lastly, is there anything you want to promote or any upcoming projects that you're working on that you want to let us know about, that you can let us know about?
So as of right now, like I mentioned before, Miss New York Teen in August. So that's the big state pageant, which I'm really excited about, and other stuff I have coming soon that I'm able to announce. So, but as of right now, Miss New York Teen pageant, which super exciting because it's a
That's
big pageant.
awesome.
Yeah.
And so will this be, so being that it's like it's a state pageant, will it be more girls and like a little bit more difficult, the
Yes,
process?
so it's definitely a lot more girls. Definitely a lot more girls. So the Long Island pageant was one day, and this New York State pageant is 3 days long. It's like an entire weekend. So yeah, like it's a very long process. I mean, I'm very excited about it, but it's like nothing I've done before. Since Long Island was my first pageant, it's going to be a lot different. Um, so,
Right.
but yeah,
That's awesome. And then are you gonna work your way up to, if you get the opportunity, work your way up to like Miss Universe?
I that's a far long time away from me, but I think that's an amazing goal. I would definitely be interested in something like that. I mean, if you win Miss New York Teen USA, you go to Miss Teen USA. So it just keeps going up and up and up in like the pageant world. But Miss Universe is like definitely amazing. And I'm obsessed with one from this year. So 100% I would love to do something like that. So maybe when I'm a little bit older, um, hopefully
Okay, yeah,
Miss
because
New York.
that's probably
Yeah.
super time consuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
That's a
bigger
full-time
pageants.
job.
All right, now we're gonna move on to some TCP rapid fire questions. You don't have to answer them quickly. I just call them that. But the first question is, what makes you laugh the most?
What makes me laugh the most? I think my friends, because they understand my humor. So they'll just, it doesn't even have to be like a joke, but just like the way they say certain things. So I think my friends really know how to make me laugh. Yeah.
Three things you're grateful for.
Um, Family, my health, and let's see, my friends. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. What would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to not care so much what other people think about you.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see myself hopefully working in New York City, hopefully on something like the Today Show or any big news media outlet.
And finally, what would you name this current chapter of your life?
I would say growth. Oh, it's been a lot of growth, especially 2022. From the person I was in January, it's not the same person that I was in December. So I think it's been a very big growth chapter for me. And being able to see myself grow despite challenges I've had in high school and my early in my early childhood, I think that this year is very big on growth.
Awesome. I can't wait to see what you do next. So
Thank you.
proud. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Where can everyone follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Natalia Suaza with two eyes.
Awesome. And I want to hear from you guys. So if you're listening to this episode right now on a podcast platform, be sure to leave a rating on Anchor, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you click the notification bell up top so you're notified whenever I upload a new episode. Thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Bye.